All right, let's see if I'm a real libertarian socialist. Let's see. Take the test right here. So we're gonna zoom like this. Fuck these ads. No. No. Okay. It's kind of doxing me. It's kind of telling you where I am. All right. Before taking the test, please note that this is in a survey and these aren't questions. They're propositions. To question the logic of individual ones that irritate you is to miss the point. Some propositions are extreme and some are moderate. That's how we can show you whether you lean towards extremism or moderation on the compass. Your responses should not be overthought. Some of them are intentionally vague. Their purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measuring feelings and prejudices rather than detailed opinions on policy. I think that's important. When I've looked at people doing the political compass test, they kind of overanalyze them. And it's not, you're not supposed to analyze them. So let's see. I usually go in the strongly agree or strongly disagree usually. If I don't know, I'll go and disagree, agree. But usually I know and I go on to strongly disagree and strongly agree. How do I see the country and the world? If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Of course. That's if it's inevitable. Yeah, let's make it serve humanity, for sure. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. Obviously. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I agree with that. I strongly agree. I play into like being proud of my country for sure sometimes, but like it's usually a joke. And I do understand sometimes the value of nationalism and patriotism in strengthening leftist movements, but in general, I think it's foolish to be proud to be born in a country that you didn't have any choice over being birthed in. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Yeah, I agree with that. The human race has more superior qualities to other animal races, like dogs and cats and all that. So it's true. Our the human race is much more superior. We have a lot more intellectual qualities. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I strongly disagree with that. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Sometimes justified. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Maybe people are not going to agree with that. Depends like which international law we're talking about. What I'm thinking about is there were people who were capable of preventing or at least reducing the impact of the Rwandan genocide, yet they didn't because of international law. Had they defied international law, it would have been, it could have been prevented or at least limited. UN moment, exactly. However, I think most of the times, a large majority of the times, it can be justified. But I'm saying sometimes, yeah, sure. I won't disagree with that. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I somewhat disagree with that. Not strongly. I think it's fine to blend information and entertainment. All right. We often think of the golden age of information was when there was no entertainment, but I don't know how accessible it was back then. It makes it more accessible. I think it can be worrying when it's too much, when there's too much of a blend, but it's not always the case. I think it can be worrying. but I think it may be worrying in the future. But if all your entertainment you watch is information, then I think it's a net positive. By the way, our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I strongly disagree. I was kidding. They're probably talking about like a skin color race, not our race as humans. I imagine. I don't know. I was kidding, but nobody pushed back on that. So which is more worrying, entertainment in your information or information in your entertainment? Entertainment in your information might be more worrying, but I don't think it's necessarily harmful. It can be worrying if it comes at the expense of information, but I don't think it necessarily has to. There's a good way to do it and like a bad way to do it. Oh, is that true, Galgamus? I first thought it is. I first thought of it as our combined human race as well. It could be. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go strongly disagree that our race, because I imagine they're saying like our race for like whoever is. Yeah, exactly. Like we're probably superior to Neanderthals or other previous ones. Exactly. Pyronicus says, I think information in your entertainment is just propaganda. Yeah, probably. I'm not against propaganda though, as a concept. Anyway, let's continue. Test 2 out of 6. Now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Strongly agree. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I would say agree. The reason why is because unemployment, at least unemployment sucks, but if you have good social safety nets, it's more it leads to less harm than inflation, which isn't controlled, which everybody I mean, I guess it depends on your country, right? Here, unemployment, or at least the people I know who are on unemployment, are not necessarily. Uh, I'll just say they like unemployment. The people I know, people from my social circle who are on unemployment, like being on unemployment. The inflation though can hurt people a lot, especially those who are on unemployment. Controlling inflation is code for impoverishing people. How so? Yeah, need affordable living or need a right to work. How you see it. Controlling inflation is also code for reducing the social safety net. How? I've never heard that before. It's not really discourse where I am. The control inflation versus unemployment. I know controlling unemployment is about, all right, if you, the way I see it, at least in discourse where I am, the controlling unemployment is making people work despite them wanting to. For example, all right, you have an unemployment benefit, all right, but there's this fast food restaurant that's looking for people. All right, you might have a bachelor's in communication, but you shouldn't just get unemployment benefits if there's a fast food restaurant that's looking for for someone. You should go work at that fast food restaurant. When I think controlling unemployment, that's what I think. In the United States, when the federal bank raises the interest rate, it propagates throughout the economy and impoverishes a good portion of the public. Because they don't have money, there's less demand, therefore prices fall. So controlling inflation by impoverishing people instead of controlling inflation by by regulating prices. I saw controlling inflation as like regulating prices. Well, I'll leave it there because that's my how I see it. That's my gut feeling. I might be completely wrong. If by controlling inflation they don't mean regulating prices, they mean making people impoverished and spend less through impoverishment. Fine, halitosis. I don't want people to get poor. I'll say disagree. But thank you. I learned something. Yeah, Galgimus, maybe I'm wrong, but demand drives inflation, and therefore more people working means more demand, and with that, increase in inflation. Market economics. Oh well. There's a reason why we're not in strongly agree or strongly disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Strongly agree. At least under capitalism. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, a fundamentally good idea. Strongly agree. The freer the market, the freer the people. Strongly disagree. Sorry for all the end caps in chat. Almost let your inner end cap slip out there. No. It's a sad reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now bottled, branded, and branded consumer product. I guess I strongly agree. Hey. Get out of here. This is why ad blockers are important. Land shouldn't be commodity to be bought and sold. Strongly agree. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Strongly agree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. So Bit Defender doesn't like that question. The whole idea of protectionism, I'll agree, but not strongly. To me, protectionism can be good. For example, when it comes to agriculture and food, you don't want your local food producers in your country or even in your community to be eaten up by foreign bigger producers. Sent to the Moon says hello, everyone. Hello, Sent to the Moon. Hello. So yeah, for example, of course, Quebec is going to have smaller industries when it comes to agriculture very often, and American companies are going to be much bigger. And without protectionism, well, our industries would just die. And I probably don't need to tell you why not having any food industry in your country or in your community is bad. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Strongly disagree. I read something about how Europe's agricultural protectionism is hurting African farmers. Yeah, it's possible. I think a decent amount of protectionism is important. If you say, all right, you can't sell in our market as African farmers, I think that could be, but you want to incentivize your own agricultural producers for sure. Yeah, it might not be viable to do so for African farmers. Again, you don't want to rely on another country to feed your population, basically. As you can imagine, that's not a great strategy in general. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Strongly disagree. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Strongly agree. That's gonna make me an authoritarian. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I think a genuine free market doesn't require that. It doesn't make me an advocate of free market capitalism, but I do think that a genuine free market can't have restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. A genuine free market will create these and can't have restrictions on them. So I strongly disagree that it requires restrictions. That a genuine free market requires restrictions. I believe that it should have restrictions, but if it's a genuine free market, it shouldn't because it's genuine. Don't worry, Sean. We're good at helping tankies recover. All right, you're gonna have to help me recover after this. It makes me authoritarian. Yeah, I did make a video about how I'm literally pro-slavery. My personal values. Abortion when the woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal. Strongly disagree. One day I'll talk about that. All authority should be questioned. Strongly agree. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Strongly disagree. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museum that cannot survive. Strongly, wait, there's a double negative. Should not be expected. They should be. Agree. So disagree. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Strongly disagree. What's with the double negatives? Or no, why is the negatives? If someone says schools should not make rooms, okay, I'll be against them. Yeah. No, I'll just continue. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own. I would agree for certain types of people, such as chat, but just in general, as a principle, no. Yeah, Sneaky Revenant. I hate the way some of these questions are worded. It's normal. Of course, it's normal. What? You mean all classes should be attended? Yeah, schools should not make class attendance compulsory. Maybe not in university and colleges. Okay. Because I didn't go to my classes. But in elementary school and high school, yes, I do believe so. Yeah, how can people keep to their own if their country's constantly being cooed by the CIA? Keep to your own, but fall in line though. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Disagree. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Strongly agree. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly agree. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations to find jobs. Strongly disagree. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Strongly disagree. Here, for discipline, there's a difference between self-discipline and like discipline in terms of an authority, right? When people say discipline, they usually say discipline to an authority. They need to listen to adults. They need to listen to their school teachers. They need to listen to, in some cases, the priest. Except discipline is bad in that case. We're not talking about self-discipline, which is good. Yeah, we hate child abuse being masked as discipline. Discipline, as always. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. I'll agree with that because of the connotation that's savage and civilized. But I'm not in the camp of different cultures and therefore we have to accept people's bigotries. There was a TikTok. It was on Canadian TikTok, so I didn't really want to cover it. But there was this Muslim lady who was really angry that her children were taught that gay people existed in schools. And the fact that it's a different culture doesn't justify or excuse bigotry. but I wouldn't call her a savage. All right, I won't. But it doesn't mean that different cultures necessarily have the same. Like, doesn't mean that we can excuse their bigotry. But I wouldn't go as far as saying savage. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Strongly disagree. As I've said earlier in the segment, some people, like, you could have a bachelor's in communication and you're like, all right, you have the opportunity to work at a fast food restaurant. And the person's like, yeah, not really. Fuck that. I think it's fine to say that, like, it's fine to refuse the opportunity and still expect society support. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Willful ignorance. Is that what it's called? Here, what says, I don't think only Muslim ladies are like that. No, for sure not. I think her argument was that because it's her culture. Anyway. Yeah, that's that's being called a liberal. I think the yesterday I like outright advocated for this. All right, maybe not busy with more cheerful things. I'll strongly disagree with this. The reason why is, like, when I'm troubled, I don't keep myself busy with more cheerful things. I keep myself busy, but with not necessarily cheerful things. For example, unwillful knowingness. Yeah, exactly. For example, yesterday I was talking about how the news kind of sometimes depresses me, right? But that doesn't mean that, okay, because the news just like makes me depressed, let me go, I don't know. What do people do? What are the cheerful things that they keep themselves busy with? I'm going to go ride a unicycle. Like, no, I'm not going to ride a unicycle just to not think of my troubles or whatever. I'll keep myself busy for sure, but not with cheerful things necessarily. I'll make videos. I'll keep myself busy with doing videos, or discussing or reading on topics that I believe explain the reason why these news suck so much. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated with their new country. I'm gonna strongly disagree with that. I don't like the word never. I do know for a fact that it's harder. And what does it mean to be integrated? I don't know. I have no idea. Does it mean to, like, comply with the majority? What's integration mean here? And I know it can be harder because I've known a lot of people, and I've been around a lot of people who find it tough to be in their new country, who find it tough to learn the new language, who find it tough to adhere to a culture that they don't agree with. But are you not in, like, what's integration? It doesn't matter if they're not fully integrated. But that's the thing. We have to, like, define what integration is. I think it's fine if you're not fully integrated. It's a process anyway. It's not like you can just be fully integrated from one day to another. Also depends to where. From USA to UK is probably easier than from China to UK. Yeah, for sure. The what I'm thinking, the people I'm thinking about, like, personally in my own personal experience, who are first generation immigrants, who have been here for years and still haven't been able to fully integrate, whatever that means, are the Latinos, Latinas, and people from the Middle East. Very often these two cultures are very, very conservative, and when they come here in a more liberal culture, that integration is harder. Also, we speak French, so you have to learn the language as well, which can be hard. So what is integration? Like, do you need to accept gay people to be fully integrated within Canadian culture? What about all the white people who, have been here for the longest time and who are homophobic? Are they not integrated within their own culture? Yeah, full integrations mean they celebrate Christmas. Like, I don't celebrate Christmas. Or do sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. Depends. Depends if there's something that goes on. So like, am I not fully integrated? Yeah, we don't want to overthink it. You're right, Scale Wash. No, but like I already strongly disagree with this, but it's just like an interesting topic to explore. Maybe not during the test, maybe after. Tamara says, I'd say that while I'm integrated into Canadian society, my parents can never be 100%. Of course, some people would say I do not qualify either. I imagine your parents are the first generation immigrants that is outlined here. Yeah. Like how if I may ask Tamer, you don't have to answer, but like how are your parents not integrated? Is it cuz they disagree with majority opinions? Cuz you're going to have people who are, who are Canadian who disagree with the majority opinions. Now, is it cuz they don't eat Canadian food? A lot of Canadians don't eat Canadian food. Is it because they don't speak the language? Language can be a part of it, I guess. As Galgamus says, it also depends a lot on the country. Much easier to integrate and being accepted in the US or Canada than Japan. Yeah, for sure. I guess the standards also depend from country to country, right? In Quebec, integration has a lot to do with knowing to speak French or speaking French, because it's such a strong point for our culture, right? But for some people, speaking English might not be such an important factor to being Canadian or being an American. Perhaps it is. The Great J defines what a Canadian is in the first time chat. Normally I would say, hey everyone, say hello to the Great J, but the Great J just says, to be Canadian, it just means you have to hose down the outdoor rink after you use it, i.e. a hoser. I used to have an outdoor rink when I was young in my backyard. We would hose it down. Yeah, as Graph 8299 says, being Canadian, as with most settler colonial nations, is meaningless because what kind of meaningful culture can be formed from a history of oppressing the indigenous peoples that were here first? That isn't a reflection of that history. None. I feel like, there can still be like there's still a culture, right, in settler colonial nations. It's just very often they're cultures that are not necessarily grounded in that much history, and it's like the kind of thing that just the addition of so many things together. It's the law. We need to hose it down. We need to have a nice rink. For example, we have people like just the differences in culture within Canada, the differences in culture within provinces, within cities themselves, right? The difference in culture in different parts of Montreal, and not just because of the provenance, is that the right word, of the people who live in these sectors of Montreal, but because of where they come from, because of the history of that place. Alto says, my daughter has a friend whose parents own a Chinese restaurant. They seem to be struggling with integrating into the area because they don't speak English. I think they are very reluctant to fully engage in the community because of this. Yeah, language can be a very hard way to. Language barriers can be great barriers to being integrated. That's one of the reasons why here in Quebec it's so part of the culture. But yeah, language is part of being integrated, I guess. Temer says about their parents, they're pretty strongly culturally African. Their grasp at English is a bit rough. Je peux parler anglais et français tous les deux. I don't know, perhaps I misjudged too. They have welcomed Canada into their hearts. Yeah, I guess like language can be hard, and maybe language is part of that integration Because aside from that, opinions doesn't necessarily mean you're integrated or not. Values either. People share like different values in general. So anyway, let's move on. But thank you all for your contributions, except for the Gray Jay calling me a hoser. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree, obviously. No broadcasting institution, however independent in content, shouldn't be receive public funding. Strongly disagree. Public funding for broadcasting institutions, when they're independent or very independent, can be really, really good. A broadcasting institution, if they don't receive public funding, they'll receive private funding, which private funding also puts in peril their independence. Private funding puts in peril their independence more than public funding. That's my take on that. Gotta hate when corporations just are. Oh, you're a fellow hoser, all right. And how do you see the wider society? Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Agree. The word excessively is kind of loaded. So I guess it depends on how sensitive you are to like your civil liberties being curbed in general. But I agree with that because I don't think it should be at all. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in the democratic political system. I agree with this. I strongly agree with this. This is true. This is true, but I disagree with it as a concept. But as a statement, I agree with it. It's true that a one-party state is much more effective than a democratic political system. Obviously. I think everyone should agree with this. Should agree on that. We just decide that perhaps there are benefits to delay progress through democratic political system because we don't like authoritarianism and we don't like power being concentrated into the hands of, one party. So I strongly agree with this. I'll say strongly disagree because I disagree with the fact that a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in the democratic political system. I do think it's an advantage, but I don't think it's an advantage that outweighs the disadvantage of a one-party state. I don't think this justifies one-party states. Obviously not. I'm an anarchist. But I do think it's important to recognize that, yes, right now, there are arguments and we're delaying progress for the sake of democratic, for democracy, for the semblance of democracy that we have. Because if we didn't have democracy right now, there might be less delays. There will be less delays if we didn't have democracy, obviously. So I strongly agree, but I strongly agree with this statement. I strongly disagree with its implications. Tankfist. Yeah, I become this is revealing how much of a tanky I am. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. Again, what's a wrongdoer? The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly disagree. Fuck the death penalty. Also, wrongdoers, just to explain to some people who might not know what I mean, but like, what's a wrongdoer? Who decides what's a wrongdoer? What a wrongdoer is? A wrongdoer could be someone that you disagree with the methods of. For example, someone decides to graffiti the walls of a bank to denounce how bad it is. That's a stupid argument, but like, I don't think they're necessarily a wrongdoer, But in terms of official surveillance, then they are wrongdoers and they need to be worried. It's for anyone who would say that they strongly agree with this, you're not at the end of history. If any revolution that happened in the history of mankind, of humankind, had official surveillance made easier through the electronic age, we'd be under a monarchy today. Think of the French Revolution, which I hope most people like. Think of the American Revolution, that many people who strongly agree with this would actually love the American Revolution. The American Revolution would have been much different and perhaps non-existence if this was the case, because the people that you so admire were considered wrongdoers, at least to the eyes of the law. And as we said, the law is political. Graf is a wrongdoer. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Strongly disagree. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. I want to agree, but I won't. I want to agree. I know that's an authoritarian idea. I don't. I want to say, I don't want to say it shouldn't be considered art at all. We do a bit of fascist art critique here. Yeah, we do. We actually do. Fuck abstract art that doesn't represent anything. Fuck abstract art that's just done in the name of something looking cool or expressing your feelings that nobody cares about. Fuck you. Fuck you and your abstract art. Say something about the world more than I like lines and I like circles and I like colors. Anyway, I'll strongly disagree still. You can consider our art if you want. When it says shouldn't, you know, we're moving on. Fuck that. Yeah, when you say strongly disagree on the death penalty, is it because other measures are preferable, i.e. serial killers? Like a preferable treatment of serial killers instead of death penalty? Yeah. Yeah, I think as a society has a duty to assume that no one is unredeemable. Oh, I don't think serial killers can be let out into society again necessarily. Hello, Sianzetta, by the way. Wrongdoers litter. Oh, you said that. You've been in chat for a while. Haven't seen you. Sorry. Hello, Zanzetta. And yeah, for example, do you think serial killers can be let out into society again? Maybe eventually, but if they can't, I think we still have a duty to try to reform them. You feel ignored. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But no, like let's say they're in jail for like 20 years. All right. We do an evaluation. Are they safe or are they still a danger? If they're still a danger, we're not letting them out of society. But I don't think killing them is a solution, because I think we have a duty. If we have a lot of power over someone, we have a duty to make sure that to assume that they may get better eventually. Yeah, we must try even if we fail, because just killing someone would just come from from not wanting to try, right? Like, you have to try, because it's a duty for you to do it. Yeah, we have to assume that people can become better, even if they were the worst people in the world, instead of assuming that people won't get better, because that's what you're doing, right? If you're just killing, it's like you're assuming that they're never going to get better. And you can't make that assumption if you're going to exert so much power over someone, even as a collective. All right, let's move on. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. Fuck punishment. We should punish punishment. If it is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals, as we've talked about, it never is. It never is. It might be a waste of time, but we never can assume that it is. because when you take the responsibility of someone's life into your hands, you have to give them as much charity as possible. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Strongly disagree. The reason why I strongly disagree, and the reason why I hesitated, you might be surprised that I hesitated, is because I do believe that feeding people and providing them with material well-being is primary to, you know, to the arts and literature. The reason why I disagree nonetheless is because the business person and the manufacturer aren't the one doing the work. Fuck these people. I'd rather live in a world without writers and artists than a world without people farming and literally providing us food. But these people are not the people providing us food and farming and stuff like that. So fuck these people. Strongly disagree. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be a homemaker. Strongly disagree. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I don't know what that means, but multinational companies are unethically exploiting developing countries. I agree, yes. Sinzet also doesn't understand this one. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Strongly disagree. I mean, depends on, that's not what my definition of maturity is. If you go through the, if you got through that, okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. What do I think of religion? Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. You cannot be moral without being religious. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping genuinely disadvantaged. No. Some people are naturally unlucky. No. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. No. All right. That was easy. Let's ask the saint in the background. Yeah, good. What do you think about it, Saint Dominic? A man of very little words. Okay. God guided me to you, Germinal. You should be more grateful. How do you know it's God and not the stars, eh? He didn't get that play button, Pyranarchist. I did, okay? Yeah, a lot of these things are, at least to me, are sort of problematic. Some people are naturally unlucky. People don't necessarily see that as religion, or like, you know, it's more superstition or whatever. But this is bad as well. This is a really bad take and a harmful one. Finally, a look at sex. Oh, you have no idea how much how conservative I am when it comes to sex. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Hey, what's my latest video? Well, why you should have sex before marriage? Why you should have sex before marriage? I think people should. All right. It's usually immoral. Strongly disagree. A same-sex couple is in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of adopting, of child adoption. Yeah, absolutely. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Of course. What goes on in private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. As Tired Floor says, that's gay. That's true. Can you feel naturally homosexual or artificially homosexual? How many artificial homosexuals do we have in chat? Just asking. Because I feel like we have a lot of artificial gays. At least 3, right? Gimus says, I always understood naturally unlucky to be more of some people having biological disadvantages from birth. Well, it's in the religious tab, so it's like, just like you're born under the wrong star or whatever. All right, yeah, we got a couple of artificial gays. Oh, the big red dog is the COVID vaccine that got you artificially gay. I thought it made people trans, and that's why more people are trans since COVID. Anyway, trans, gay, queer, whatever. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I disagree. I think it hasn't gone far enough. There's still a taboo about it. Where am I? Hey, we're nowhere. Do you mean hetero halitosis? 99.9% straight or hetero? Graf says, I'm fighting in the war of the gay agenda. On the side of the gay agenda. Am I a centrist? No, I'm not a centrist. Centrist moment. Not right, not left, but forward. Not up, not down. Forward. Okay. Okay. There we are. We're slightly authoritarian. We're slightly authoritarian. All right. I'll take that. I accept. It's not a bad not true anarchist. A bit too authoritarian. What was that question I said would make me authoritarian? Oh, like corporations should be taxed and oh yeah, false advertisement should be punished or something like that. Yeah, shame. I'm not in the corner. Not a true anarchist. Yeah, it says -9 and -8. It should be, yeah, you're right, Galgamus. That means it must be really, really bad. You're at 0 if you're center, and you're like ++ if you're authoritarian right. So we're -, which is not good. We'll have to redo it. I wonder, like, what if I answered yes to abstract art not being real art? I don't want to redo the whole thing just for that. But yeah, I've done it before. I knew I would be there. Can you put this on your profile pic now?